And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It is Thursday, June 6, 2013. This is a live broadcast. My name is Doug Hagmann. With me is Joe Hagmann. Folks, we are broadcasting live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, the Dulles Airport, not too far from us. So if you hear some engine noise, we're not being droned. Don't drone me, bro. It is the sound of perhaps a 757 or a 747 or whatever flies into Dulles. But at any rate, I want to welcome you to an information-packed show tonight. Of course, with me is Joe Hagmann, my son, fellow investigator, and together we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We've been on the road all day. We've met with some very interesting people. I want to say hello to Sam and the son. God bless you, both of you. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, and thank you for your time today. And it was a pleasure. And I got to tell you, Joe, it's, we could have put actually we had a on the way down here we could have put the car in neutral and let the wind and rain push us down here, which probably we should have done. But that said. Joe, are you with me?
Yes, I am, if you can hear me.
Okay. Yeah, I can. For a second there, I couldn't. Now, you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, we are remote from Washington, D.C. We have some business to take care of here in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. And, in fact, I am going to make sure my complaint is heard about the NSA situation tomorrow in Washington with my congressmen and senators. Of course, if you want to know what we're talking about, go to CanadaFreePress.com. On the front page, from Verizon's "Can You Hear Me Now?" to NSA's "Yes, Every Eavesdropped Word." That is the story by Jeannie McLeod there about Big Brother watching. At any rate, I want to welcome new listeners to the program. I'm email challenged at the moment, but we do have new listeners from California, from Wyoming, from Nebraska, from New Jersey, from Pennsylvania. Welcome to the program.
Also, say hello to Dave in Oklahoma City. I did get your email, and I'm going to be responding. He sent us an email yesterday, and I forgot to mention it. But
you're crackly there, my friend.
Well, that is the hotel internet.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was your wireless or if it was not.
No, I'm hardwired right in.
There we go.
And
there we go.
There seems to be some kind of problem even with the hardwire here. I don't have a full signal, so.
Yeah, actually, we have here we have hardwired throughout. If you can see the cables are running. Maybe it's interesting. Bilderberger meeting going on. Folks, don't take this lightly. Don't take what's going on lightly with respect to what's taking place here.
There's a whole lot of news that have come out today.
Before we get into the news, I really want to talk a little bit about the Bilderbergers.
What's there to talk about? A bunch of old. I'll use my words carefully here. A bunch of old globalist, new business, old government, people in places of power, meeting together to continue to push an agenda that is in America, that's unconstitutional, and against everything that this country stands for.
No, it's true. Now, of course, they're having their meeting as we're having our conference in Apex, North Carolina tomorrow. Folks, if you haven't signed up for the conference in Apex, North Carolina, which is going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which we will be presenting at with Susan Price, Gold Star Mom, God bless her. Do so today. Tomorrow's your last day.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Joe, do me a favor. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment here. I've got to grab my files that are in my file case that we brought with us here.
Okay.
Go ahead and go over some news. Let me grab this. This is live radio. We folks, we
got into the hotel here about 10 minutes before airtime.
Actually, we left early in the morning from our hometown. We traveled through monsoon, 3 states, 3 different monsoons, water up to the middle of the tires on the vehicle. Got to our meeting. We had a meeting this afternoon. Got to our meeting within 5 minutes to spare. Went to the meeting. Got back from the meeting. 10 minutes left to wire everything in, to figure out where everything was. So that said, the file case of our files, which we have, and I'm looking over this beautiful scenery of Washington, D.C., and it saddens me to think that this country is brought down to the level it has. But go ahead, Joe, and let me grab this file.
Okay.
Grab the box and
I don't share the same sentiments as you about this city being beautiful. I think the trees here are very nice. We've met some nice people, and we've had contacts and friends that we've talked to since we've been here. That has been the highlight of our trip so far. And but being in Washington, it feels like I'm in a dirty place where I'm not supposed to be. That's how bad this city makes me feel. Kind of like going back to New York City. But we got a lot of news today, especially when it comes to things we talked about last night, the handing over of information, the spying police state on all Americans, whether it be email, text, phone. You might not even be on the phone. You just might be talking to somebody in your house. The government is coming out and pushing hard against any type of privacy rights, saying it is a critical tool against terrorist threats. And what is the critical tool? The NSA and FBI taking all the data from internet firms, from wireless providers, just about anybody who you use to collect or to send information. The government has set up a system where they either ask for the information from these companies like Twitter or Facebook or Verizon, it is today. It's come out the NSA's Verizon spying order specifically targeted Americans, not foreigners. The National Security Agency has long justified its spying powers by arguing that its charter allows for surveillance on those outside of the United States, while avoiding intrusions into the private communication of American citizens. But the latest revelation of the extent of the NSA's surveillance shows it has focused specifically on Americans, to a degree that its data collection has in at least one major spying incident explicitly excluded those outside of the United States. In a top-secret order obtained by the Guardian newspaper and published Wednesday evening, the FBI on the NSA's behalf demanded that Verizon turn over all metadata for phone records originating in the United States for 3 months beginning in late April and ending on July 19th. That metadata includes all so-called non-content data for millions of American customers' phone calls.
I thought you had a stroke there.
Wait, was I cutting out?
No, you just
all right.
You just kind of stopped up. It was a long pause. I was worried about you.
Yeah, they're collecting data such as customers' phone calls, subscriber data, recipients, locations, times, durations of every call made during that period. Aside from the sheer scope of that surveillance order, reminiscent of the warrantless wiretapping scandal under the Bush administration, the other shocking aspect of this order, its target. The order specifically states that only data regarding calls originating in America are to be handed over, not those between foreigners. Not those between foreigners. It is hereby ordered that Verizon Business Network Service, custodian of records, shall produce the National Security Agency all call detail records or telephony metadata created by Verizon for communications between the United States and abroad or wholly within the United States, including local telephone calls. The Guardian's copy of the order reads, this order does not require Verizon to include metadata or communications originating and terminating in foreign countries. Though the classified top secret order comes from the FBI, it clearly states that the data is to be given to the NSA. That means the leaked document may serve as one of the first concrete pieces of evidence that the NSA spying goes beyond foreigners to include Americans, despite all its charter specifically disallowing surveillance with those people inside the United States. It goes even further and in ways is more troubling than the Bush administration's warrantless wiretapping, in part because the program is purely domestic, says Alex+, a staff attorney within the American Civil Liberties Union. But it's also indiscriminate dragnet. Say what you will about the warrantless wiretapping, at least it's targeted at agents of Al-Qaeda. This includes every customer of Verizon Business Services. The leaked document, in fact, is labeled as an order from the Foreign Intelligence Service Court, a body whose powers were created under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 and broadened after the September 11, 2001 attacks with the purpose of intercepting communications between foreign agents and those between enemies abroad and their agents within the U.S. Similarly, the NSA charter states that its focus is on interception of and analysis of foreign communications, not those within the United States. Now, this all is from a Forbes article I am reading, but you have AT&T, Sprint, Verizon handing records of your phone calls, of your text messages, of what internet you use, what applications you have, where your location is when you use these things, all going to the government. Now, how many of you, when you got your cell phone and signed your contract that you can't get out of, knew that, or I wonder if it's even in the contract that says, yes, we are allowed to hand over your private data to the government without warrant or reason? And if it's not in the contract, are they violating their contract? Can you force them to pay $200 to cancel to get out of it early? I wonder. Dad, are you still there?
I am indeed. I am indeed.
I didn't know.
I didn't
know you ever run outside.
No. You know, I was listening to you, and I'm thinking, what are we talking about here? Seriously, what are we talking about here in the larger sense?
Full-blown, unhindered surveillance,
right.
spying, domestic spying of American citizens from an agency whose charter, their founding piece of paper that lays out what their purpose is, states that it's not for this purpose.
Well, exactly. So what we're talking about here are crimes. Are crimes being committed by this regime. And, you know, we can talk all day long until we're blue in the face about the crimes being committed by this regime. It almost seems, and pardon my expression, no one gives a damn. Really. How many people really give a damn about what's going on in this administration? I want to know that. I want to know.
People care more about, what they're having for dinner. People care more about what they're going to do on the weekend, what kind of good time they can have. People care more about their own.
For you. Yeah, this is inextricably tied to the Second Amendment, to the assault on the Second Amendment, because in order to get to the first, they have to get they get to the first by going through the second, or they have to go through the second to get to the First Amendment. Is what I'm trying to say.
There was an article up on Judge also.
Okay.
And this goes back to, I don't know if this is posted today or no, this is March 15th of 2012. CIA chief, we will spy on you through your dishwasher. And that is exactly what they are and have been doing. And this goes on to say more and more personal household devices are connecting to the internet, from your television to your car navigation system to your light switches. According to CIA Director David Petraeus, he said he cannot wait to spy on you through them. Earlier this month, Petraeus mused about the emergence of an Internet of Things, that is, wired devices, at a summit for In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Transformational is an overused word, but I do believe it properly applies to these technologies, Petraeus said, particularly their effect to clandestine tradecraft. And items of interest,
right.
He goes on to say, items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technology such as radio frequency identification, sensor networks, tiny embedded servers, and energy harvesters, all connected to next-generation Internet, using abundant, low-cost, high-powered computing to spy on you. Cloud computing.
All right. Now, let me go back to something that I started at the beginning of the program, and that was the article at CanadaFreePress.com about Verizon. The disclosure, 2 days after what happened to me with the NSA, the disclosure about Verizon, court records. And I was looking through the comments here, and there was a comment by somebody by the name of PJ saying no content was revealed, okay, from this. That was one sentence in this comment by this PJ. No content was revealed, okay? Now think about that for a second. In other words, what this PJ is saying is, well, there was no content of the conversation that was revealed. In other words, to the spy agencies. No. What I wanted to kind of touch on is this. With respect to me, by the way. Now this is about me, and I know it sounds almost self-serving to talk about me, but I'm kind of using me as kind of like a basis for understanding of what's going on here. Ron writes, well, PJ, you're correct, that the Verizon court order only required the electronic identifier information, which means that this court order only covered the numbers back and forth. But anyway, however, the call between myself, me, and another equally high-profile media personality was recorded, and the recording was placed in a file. And the access information was afforded to at least one and perhaps more likely multiple parties. Now, I was on Coast to Coast last night talking about this. Given the magnitude of the stories that, now this is Ron writing this, that I've covered this year, meaning me, and the quality of the sources, who do you think in Big Brother's system has decided to put him on speed dial, meaning me, us? Will the Hagmann reports and myself as a writer for Canada Free Press, will I still be able to let you folks know what's really happening, or will Canada Free Press have to sift down their news product to the baby food pablum that is de rigueur in the rest of the mainstream media? This is one of the biggest stories CFP has ever had to print. I just don't know if people understand how serious the threat is from what has happened here. Okay, let me stop right there for a second. Folks, we're seeing history being made here, and I cannot believe that newspapers who buy their ink by the barrel and radio stations who own the airwaves are not screaming bloody murder about what's taking place here. I can't believe it. And bloggers and everyone is up in arms about this. Joe, I got to tell you, man, I am just absolutely astounded that there's not more outrage over this, whether it be Verizon or even looking at this PJ who comments no content was revealed. Excuse me? Does that make it okay? Do you folks understand that the chill that says this has, the chill this has on people who want to or who intend to
blow the whistle?
Whistleblowers?
Well, listen to this. Well, listen to this. Now, think about this. The same Petraeus, or I'm sorry, this isn't Petraeus, it's Panetta. IG report says Panetta disclosed sensitive information on bin Laden raid. Representatives decry hypocrisy. A top Republican of the House of Representatives is accusing the Obama administration of hypocrisy after a draft witchdog watchdog report claimed former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta disclosed sensitive information on the alleged bin Laden raid to a Hollywood filmmaker, even as the Justice Department was aggressively pursuing other security leaks of the same kind. Peter King sharply criticized the White House for letting the Panetta disclosure slide. There's definitely hypocrisy here. King fumed. The administration is cracking down on every leak, but here they themselves are orchestrating the leaks, but here you have the White House cooperating with Hollywood as a result of that. We have security breaches. The administration has come under fire for seizing the records of the Associated Press and Fox News journalists in a separate leak of probes, even labeling a Fox News reporter as a criminal co-conspirator in one case. But the unpublished report was first disclosed by the Project on Government Oversight and confirmed Wednesday by King, who asked for the investigation nearly 2 years ago. So we have old members of the administration disclosing nationally sensitive information. At the same time, we have a White House that is pursuing and criminalizing and going after more whistleblowers than any administration in history. Allegedly, the most transparent administration is anything but.
Well, the Drudge picture of Obama with the let's say with the heading with what big ears you have. You know, it's cute, obviously, and it's I'm sure that the.
What are they referring? What do they mean?
This I'm kind of digressing now, going back to the spying and the snooping and the data mining and such.
Oh,
okay, and of course Obama for some reason is holding his air. Just the picture itself, kind of, but what big ears you have, and then there's a whole litany of stories about the Homeland Security laptops can be searched, and the NSA sees all phone, sex, banks, emails, whatever, or phone sex. I was going to say how that, but never mind.
It's been one of those days.
Yeah, I know. But see, it's interesting to go to like sites, for example, like Democratic Underground. Not that you should go there. I'm not recommending it. But to read the progressive rationalization of what is taking place. Not everyone. I'm not going to paint them with a big brush. Because.
Well, I guess I should ask this: what? I mean, do we need to get rid of our cell phones? Do we need to get rid of our computers?
Yeah.
Do we need? I mean, seriously, is it going to matter though? Would it matter? Apparently, these people have the ability to watch your every move, regardless of what technology or lack of technology you have. You could live in a hut in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and these people from outer space can see what colored nail polish you have on.
Very true. And this started well before Obama. It was in the Bush administration. It was even in the Bush 1 administration, but not to the degree that it is now. And now they're just coming right out and just being very, very open or very blatant about what they're doing and without caring about this. But my concern is this: you're right. You've got these smart meters on the house that are monitoring and also they're active in terms of changing things. You've got your television sets, dishwashers, whatever, appliances that are spying on you, computers spying on you as well. It's interesting that people who say, well, if you haven't done anything wrong, who cares? Are you really serious about that? Because what we're looking at,
things that are acceptable today, like reading your Bible, are going to be illegal soon. So people might want to think twice before asking that question. Because what's illegal today, or what's considered illegal, I mean, this seems to change on a daily basis or at the whim of a person in the executive office.
Well, isn't it interesting that it's almost like there's a continuity of agenda here, and I have to say there is a continuity of agenda, is there not? with respect to how things are taking place within the intelligence community.
From the National Journal today, welcome to the Bush-Obama White House. They're spying on us. Bush-Obama era will be long remembered for curbing the Constitution. It made little difference. The 2008 election, despite clear popular promises to the contrary, President Obama has not shifted the balance between security and freedom to a more neutral state, one not blinded by worse fears and people by power grabs. If anything, things have gotten worse. 1, killing of civilians and U.S. civilians via drone. 2, seizing telephone records at the Associated Press in violation of Justice Department guidelines. Detaining terrorist suspects at Guantanamo Bay despite promises to end the ill-considered Bush policy. Accusing a Fox reporter accusing a respected Fox News reporter of engaging in a conspiracy to commit treason for doing his job. Even the IRS scandal. We have Fast and Furious. We have all these things that have plagued this White House, a White House that was supposed to be different. Now we have Lindsey Graham. Not sure if bloggers deserve First Amendment protection. We have Verizon handing over any documents and all documents to the government on anything you do with your telephone. The NSA order is the broadest surveillance order known to have been issued. This from the Washington Post. Also, it goes on to say this appears to be a rubber stamp order reissued every few months since 2001. As is the case with all government programs, the systematic snooping on your telephone records is unlikely to expire without public outcry.
Isn't this interesting?
It's full of hypocrites. Liberals who criticize Bush are less inclined with Obama. Republicans who bow to Bush are now blasting Obama.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Look, it's the same thing, right? I mean, we could talk about this all night and not really change the tenor and tone and even the subject of what we're talking about.
No, and it is frustrating having a nice. I mean, I'd rather drive in the rain than read these news
that's great.
articles, especially just blatantly. They don't care what you think. Why don't they care what you think? Because nobody is going to do anything about it. Nobody's going to speak out against it. People are too afraid of being politically correct. People are too afraid of being popular or not upsetting other people for coming out and speaking what's right, regardless of how other people feel about liking the wrong.
Exactly. Well, folks, we're going to take a short break here at the bottom of this hour. I want to welcome you to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Folks, we're going to be right back after this a short break. Please stay with us.
While the FBI calls it a backdoor, Internet companies call it a floodgate to all electronic communication. First, the government wanted to fine tech companies for refusing to provide them with information about their customers' emails. Now, a new wiretap bill supported by the FBI is planning to expand wiretap designs significantly. It will include written communications like emails, but also digital functions like video chats and FaceTime. The bill forces tech companies to not only allow the FBI to conduct the spying, but to pave the way for them to be able to do it with infrastructure, because law enforcement is concerned about, quote, going dark and losing the ability to surveil electronically. The bill is an update to the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act that was passed back in 1994, which compels all telecommunications providers to design their network so that law enforcement can sneak a peek. The new report from the Center for Democracy and Technology argues that the expansion of CALEA amounts to developing for our adversaries capabilities that they may not have the competence, access, or resources to develop on their own. In that sense, the endpoint wiretap mandate of CALEA 2 may lower the already low barriers to successful cybersecurity attacks. Now, it's worth figuring out precisely who can get through this back door before we open it up.
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a short break there at the bottom of the hour, bottom of the first hour. You're listening to the Hagmann Report, talking about, among other things, of course, the wiretapping of, or the eavesdropping of Big Brother of our government. And essentially what we're talking about here is the thought police. And I got to tell you, I'm not too happy, especially when one of our own, one of us, gets involved in this in a way that is not to be expected. And then, by the way, I did verify that through, and I mentioned this yesterday or the day before. I did verify that that was in fact a bona fide NSA intercept that, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, there was a human error involved in that. And tomorrow I'll be talking to my congressmen and senators to determine what we can do about this. Now, that said, we have other news as well. By the way, do you find it odd that 1984 was published 64 years ago today? You find it odd that...
Nope. I mean, really, no. This perfect day, why not? How many people really know what 1984 is?
Well, yeah, exactly. 1984 was published 64 years ago, and that's a good question. How many people do know what 1984 is? Well, it's an Orwellian, George Orwell production. It's about, well, I guess...
a police state.
Yeah.
Similar to today. A little more controlled, but we're at this pace, we'll be there in 2 weeks.
I remember the first line where it was the first line or one of the first lines where he said it was a bright, cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. Okay.
Ignorance to strength. Ignorance to strength. I forget the other two, but there are a few oxymorons in there. It is all about a police state being set up against the people being basically all one and the same, zombies, drones, if you will, and their boss, their lord, is the state. But we have one piece of good news I saw here today. An NFL champion skips White House visit due to Obama's saying of God bless Planned Parenthood. Retired Baltimore Ravens center Matt Burke won a Super Bowl with the team last year, but skipped the team's visit to the White House due to Obama's support for Planned Parenthood. He said, "I have great respect for the office of the presidency, but 5 or 6 weeks ago, our president made a comment in a speech and said, God bless Planned Parenthood." Burke, a former Minnesota Viking, told the Minnesota sports blog, "I'm very confused by Obama's statement," he explained. "For God to bless a place where they've ended 330,000 lives last year, just chose not to attend," he said.
No. Once again, who is this? This is what player is this? Or who is this?
Baltimore Ravens retired player. He retired this year. His name is Burke, Matt Burke.
Okay.
He was the center.
Okay. So, in the world of sports, would this get anyone's attention in the world of sports?
No.
I mean, because of who he is. Okay, no. So
no, only if you're announcing that you are gay in the sports world. Apparently, makes positive news for you. If you speak out against it, look for trouble.
Right.
If you speak out against Obama abortions, look for more trouble. This is how the press works.
Oh. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's, and I think we are looking at a situation. I personally believe a situation of judgment, folks. How many believe that? I mean, how many people believe that we're looking at a situation of judgment that's coming upon America? I think we have to look at it that way. And good for that NFL player that's not going along with not swimming with the other fish in the same way. The IRS, folks, the IRS crimes as well. This is absolutely incredible. We've talked about this before. This is much bigger than what people are really hearing. Joe, did you have anything on this specific that you want to hit, or you just want me to just cover this very quickly?
I think I've said all I can on the IRS thing. It is they did target people of the Tea Party and conservatives and others, but who isn't in the government today? That's more of a story than who is.
Well, the IRS is being used as a political tool by this regime to target to quell any political dissension. See, the key here is the consolidation of power, or the concentration of power, or the centralization of power created by the IRS. And I've got to say this, folks, you've got to understand the story of Irwin Schiff, a political prisoner in jail for life, essentially, because he was tossed in jail for simply wanting the tax code, asking a question, is it legal, and being thrown in jail. But the IRS, the attacks on the conservatives is much, much larger. And I'm just outraged that we're having so many people that are not caring about what's going on. Joe, I'm telling you, you might say, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, the thing is if we all stood up and stopped paying. I mean, what if we all stood up and stopped paying? And how many people know the story about Irwin Schiff or Leona Helmsley? Or when you hear the words of Leona Helmsley, you automatically think she's a bad lady, when in fact anything is that's not true. That's a completely made up story. In fact, the Helmsley ordeal, the movie, all that was just a PR for the IRS. Leona Helmsley was targeted and harassed long before any of these current people were being harassed. Leona Helmsley paid more taxes than most people make in a lifetime. In 1 year, she had I can't recall if she had her taxes were checked by three different entities, and in the end, it was like 0.1% of an error that none of the three entities that were going over her taxes could find, and they deliberately punished her on April 15th, deliberately punished her when her husband was dying of cancer. And she, the only reason that Leona Helmsley saw any jail time whatsoever is because she said, okay, rather than fight this, my husband was dying of cancer, let me just go ahead, I'll cut a deal. So I'll serve some jail time after, so that's really, to me, it's unbelievable what this IRS is doing, but yet people are just not following through or not caring about this. And they're having the same lukewarm reaction, too. Well, how outraged should you be about the NSA grabbing your phone logs? Are you flipping serious? You've got to ask that question.
Well, I mean, go back to March 31st of this year. Fusion Center director, we don't spy on Americans, just anti-government Americans. This came out after law enforcement intelligence processing fusion centers came under attack for spying on Americans. This fusion center in particular was the Arkansas director wanted to clarify the truth. Centers only spy on some Americans, those who appear to be a threat to the government or suspected of being anti-government. The misconceptions are that we are conducting spying operations on U.S. citizens, which is, of course, not a fact. That is absolutely not what we do, he told a channel Fox 24 KNWA-TV. After claiming his office absolutely does not spy on Americans, he proceeded to explain that it does not apply to those who could be. He went on to explain that this does not apply to those who could be interpreted as a threat to national security. Davis said his office places its focus on international plots, domestic terrorism, and certain groups that are anti-government.
I just want to let people know that Holder said today that the illegal tabs are run by the Muslim Brotherhood of the Muslim Brotherhood wing of the Department of Justice. So what difference does it make?
Well, one thing
I'm just kidding.
We need to get used to this. Not because we're not doing anything about it, but because no matter how loud we scream, no matter what we do, it's just going to get worse. And we'll put the Christian aspect in there. People who are Christians, this is nothing.
Okay.
I mean, you think eavesdropping on everything you do is bad. Wait till they really come after you, and they will, and it's going to happen. Well, and I'm not saying that it's inexcusable because of that, but just to get people to understand that we are seeing a blueprint of how they can gather their evidence against the people, those people who believe in the Lord. And this is a way, by monitoring all communications, whether via cell phone or to yourself from yourself, if it's audible, they are monitoring you. They are watching you. They are waiting for you to slip up. And if you're not breaking any laws yet, trust me, they'll put one in place that you won't be able to avoid. And that is the reality of the situation.
Well said. Well said, actually. This is truly the blurring of various lines. Everyone should be worried about what's taking place before us. Those people who were initially worried about the Patriot Act, they've been vindicated. Those people worried about the electronic surveillance rules have been vindicated, and everyone should very well be worried. And I'll tell you this, they're coming for the Christians. They're coming for the Christians, they're coming for the passionate gun owners, they're coming for you. And if you can't see that, if you can't see what's happening, I feel sorry for you. There will be blood in the streets from this. Now, I like to tie this into what V said as well with respect to the economy, because I do see folks killing the dollar is a big part of this. The actual murder of the dollar. And you might think, well, what does one thing have to do with the other? Look, there's going to be such social unrest, social chaos, rioting, and every Friday that goes by after what V said, and we were having a meeting today, Joe. I'm thinking about this Friday. Could it be this Friday? Not necessarily it has to mean to be a Friday that this happens, but could it be this Friday where we'll see the Japan crumble and the dollar crumble as well? I don't mean to skip subjects here, but I do believe it's important for people to understand how important this killing the dollar is. Did that make sense, Joe? Did that make sense?
I was listening. No.
Yeah, what I was trying to do, seriously, what I'm trying to do is connect with what we're seeing right now, and because I'm a big picture kind of guy, I like to be. Connect what we're seeing right now with the data collection, with the wiretapping. Yes, I'm using that word wiretapping, but with the data collection and the active killing of the dollar. Do you think that there's a connection here? And I say there is. I really do. I think there is. I think that they're doing this preemptively. They're also looking for dissonant political speech.
Oh, you mean like we can't stand sitting in Washington, D.C., overlooking a capital of a once Christian nation that has now turned into a capital of criminals,
thought police,
Satanists, evil people with evil intentions, bent on hurting you and your family? That kind of speech?
Right. Yeah.
We're right at the heart now. We're in D.C. You guys don't have too far to go. No, I'm just kidding.
No. You're right. Well, let me ask you this, Joe. Who's running this country? Who is running this country? Most Americans. Yeah. That's the ideology.
And I don't mean Obama. I mean through
all right. But what about groups like the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations? What about the CFR? What about them?
Same leadership.
Well, okay. Folks, I just, for those new listeners and for those who really don't quite grasp this Council on Foreign Relations, I just want to make sure you understand that it was founded in 1921. It's headquartered in New York City. the CFR's founder is Colonel Edward Mandell House. He'd been the chief advisor to President Woodrow Wilson. Why do I mention that? Why do I mention the CFR? Why do I mention all of this? Is because I think if we look back at Colonel Edward Mandell House, he's a Marxist whose goal was to socialize the United States. That was back in 1912. Where are we at now? Hasn't that been realized? Of course it has. He wrote a book called Philip Drew, Administrator. And Edward Mandell House laid out a fictionalized plan for the conquest of America. He told of a conspiracy. By the way, that's his word, not mine, which would gain control of both the Democratic and Republican parties, which has happened, of course, and use them as instruments of the creation of a socialist world government. Now, that said, the book called for passage of a graduated income tax, check, and the establishment of a state-controlled central bank, check, as steps toward the ultimate goal. Of course, both of these proposals are planks of the Communist Manifesto, and both became law in 1913 during the very first year of the House-dominated Wilson administration. And when I say House-dominated, I mean Colonel Edward Mandell House. That said, look at where we are today, and look at what was laid out in 1912, 1913. Is there any doubt that this has been a conspiracy for the last 100 years or more? Of course not. And, of course, with the graduated income tax, you've got the centralization of records. Now, let me skip beyond that to the centralization of records and other aspects of Obamacare, because this is something we have to consider as well. Obamacare. What's that going to do to our information? It's going to put the IRS in the enforcement arm of things. It's going to centralize more of our records. It's going to take away more of our rights in a number of different areas and different ways incrementally. And it's also going to be a tax burden or a financial burden on the United States. But all of this is laid out back in 1912 or 1913. Joe, did I look? All I want people to know is who's running America, and I think the CFR, from its beginnings in 1921, I think that they have the power of influence men and women. And don't forget the CFR named really I won't say that, but in the late 20s, I just want to point out that the CFR, the financing to the CFR came from the Rockefeller Foundation. Joe, do you know that?
No.
And the Carnegie Foundation, by the way. I just wanted to check to see if you're still awake.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm actually reading the chat and explaining that I don't have the power to answer calls, or for whatever reason I couldn't bring up the studio. He could.
Right. I've got complete control. I'm at the helm. I'm like the Mad Hatter at the helm here. What do you need?
No, somebody was
I
asking.
can't see you.
Yeah, we are right next to each other. We are. Yeah, I got to knock here, guys. Listen to this. That's me knocking on the wall. That's how I got to communicate with the old man tonight, because he is in a different room than I am.
Yet I can't hear it.
Well, I hope that's your room. No, but we had somebody who wanted to call in, and
okay. Well, I can take a call.
Okay.
You want to just give me a little.
Yeah, I'll give you a cue in Skype. Just give me a minute. You go ahead and continue.
All right, but it all goes back. Yeah, that's fine. But it all goes back, folks. To again, I just want to push this because I just want people to understand the foundations, why we find ourselves where we find ourselves at today. Because if we don't learn from the past, we are going to. This is going to happen over and over again, and a lot of people don't understand what the heck happened. You know, if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be talking like this, I'd have laughed in your face. If you would have told me that I would be talking about conspiracies and things of this nature, I would have laughed as well. But I've got to tell you right now that as an investigator for the last 30 years. All I want to tell you is I really want you to check for yourself. I want you to do your own homework, do your own research, find the things out for yourself, find out what's really going on in the world. And I think you're going to be surprised. You know, I want everyone to throw away everything they've been told, everything you think you know, and start thinking for yourselves.
Except for biblical knowledge and knowledge received from the Holy Spirit. Any knowledge of this world or how it is run, yes. And
right.
we try to do the same. I mean, really, and not we don't really try too much more than we're shown. But it's out there for people to, if they want to find the truth, not their version of the truth, not my version of the truth, but the truth. It's accessible.
Okay.
You just have to have the heart and the ability and want and drive to find it.
Exactly. Let me do this, Joe, if I can, because things are a little bit not on script tonight. Let's go to an international call. I believe this is an international call. I could be wrong. Is this you're on the air with Doug and Joe?
Yeah. No, this is Chad from Indiana. It's not an international call. But
okay. You're showing up as international for some reason.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know. You were talking about all these things regarding these plans to spy on and get information on us, and you talk about the plans going back 100 years. And it's just amazing that really there is information out there that can show you just really how far back this goes. And we've talked before about how the powers that be put this stuff in front of you and really to mock you, but also in such a manner that it's hidden. If you would discuss it when it's done, to most people, they look at you cross-eyed. But I want to share this. I want to share this story with you in light of what you've been discussing, and to your listeners. I want you to hear this. This was something actually by a French author back in the 1600s. Listen to the story. This story revolves around a little girl, and she's walking along a path, and a mean wolf wants to eat the girl and the food in her basket. He secretly stalks her behind trees and bushes and shrubs and patches of little grass and patches of tall grass. He approaches Little Red Riding Hood, and she naively tells him where she is going. He suggests to the girl to pick some flowers, which she does. In the meantime, he goes to the grandmother's house and gains entry by pretending to be the girl. He swallows the grandmother whole, and in some stories he locks her in the closet and waits for the girl, disguised as grandma. When the girl arrives, she notices grandmother looks a little strange and a little off, but she can't really put her finger on it. Little Red then says, "What a deep voice you have." She says, "The better to greet you with." "Goodness, what big eyes you have, the better to see you with." "And my, what big hands you have, the better to hug and grab you with." And lastly, "What a big mouth and teeth you have, all the better to eat you with." At which point the wolf jumps out of bed and swallows her up too. Now, this is a kid's story published by a man in the 1600s, and you wonder just how far back this goes back. Well, this man's name was, let's see, what was his name? Let's find it here. I'll find it here for you here real quick. I'm sorry. His name was Charles Perrault. And if you're wondering about Charles Perrault, he lived from January 12, 1628 to May 16, 1703, and was a French member of the Académie Française. This Académie Française called themselves, it was lifetime membership, consisted of 40 men, and they called themselves the Immortals. So
okay.
this stuff isn't new. I mean, I think in reading that, without much explanation, maybe it does take some, but you see a strategy here. This is not something that's new. It's not something that they haven't planned, and it goes back longer, I think, than people really understand. I think as you guys have exposed a lot of these things and educated so many people, if they themselves, and this is for anybody, once you start to wake up, go back and look at history. Go back and look at these things. You'll see things totally different. You'll start to connect pieces that you didn't connect before. And then it no longer becomes a conspiracy. It becomes a planned, a satanic attack from the very beginning. It's not an old story. This plan in Little Red Riding Hood or Little Red Cap, I mean, can we not see how this has been a desire for a long time? What's different today, folks? They have the ability to do it now. They have the ability to implement it now. That's what's different. That's what should scare people. If you're in a modern society, they have everything in place. You can't hide in the woods. You can't stay in the comfort in the God-ordained temple of your own home and expect to have any kind of solace, privacy, intimate moments. I mean, we haven't even talked about that. With your family.
Right. Very true.
You know,
very true,
this is an utmost intrusion. It's beyond the injustice. This is nothing less than a spiritual rape and mental rape.
You know what? I like that. I don't like that, but I like that, the spiritual rape. Because, see, the spiritual component, people don't get that.
No, and you just gave me a good idea. Maybe we should sit by our phone. Maybe we should all exchange numbers. And for anybody who has unlimited minutes or free night times, should just get on the phones and just read the Bible to each other for hours and hours. Because not only will it help us, maybe it'll help those listening in.
Oh, absolutely. My point is that I'm trying to make here is there are many people who are like myself who think that these failings that people have in government that have led us to where we are now, they seem accidental. They seem as if they're disorganized or discordant or just the failings of men. People have got to understand, yes, those tools have been used, but there has been a plan from the beginning. And we're reaching the days where you can no longer afford to be silent. You can no longer afford to be quiet. You can no longer afford to hide, think that you can just bury your head. You can't do it anymore. You have to talk. We have to speak about why this is happening. And if we don't, just as Steve has said, you're dumb unto death. You have to look the other way. It's no longer being fooled. People have to look the other way. You have to make them choose to either hear you or look the other way. At least they've been told.
Why do you think? Now, before you answer, we're up against the top of the hour. Jack, can you hold on with us for a little bit? All right, folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report on this very special day. It is Thursday, the 6th day of June. For those number people, 6/6/13. Again, June 6, 2013. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me in Washington, D.C., broadcasting live from location, on location in Washington, D.C. We are the Hagmann Report. Folks, we're right back after these messages. Stay tuned. With us is Chad. We're going to be picking him up on the other side of this break. Again, stay with us. And welcome back, folks. Chad, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here, Doug. Joe. You had a question for me, I think.
Yeah, I did, but I can't remember what it was. And I got to tell you that it was very quiet. Yeah, this is unusual. I usually I've got control of the board, and that's a bad thing. But you were very nice, very quiet. Thank you for not not screaming and yelling. Like I didn't mute you, actually. I did have a question for you. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure what it was, and I was very passionate about it. But where were we before the top of the hour break?
Well, I was talking about this intrusion in likening it to spiritual and mental rape.
You know,
does that?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I've known somebody who was raped, and I got an email here recently from someone using that analysis, that comparison, and saying that I was very insensitive by using that analysis. But isn't that what's happening here? Isn't this such a violation, such a personal violation?
It really is, because yes, the physical aspect of that word is horrible, but long after a person heals is the emotional and the mental scars that it leaves upon the person. These are, as you've discussed, these are ways that mind control and MK Ultra and all these things work, is to break a person's heart and mind and spirit. And the psyche of people, it is made for intimacy, but it's a willingness. Our Father gives us a choice to choose Him, all the might, all the power that He has, and yet He will not intrude without asking. And
that's a very good point.
I was going to just say that, Joe. Yeah. We have to ask for His intervention, His favor, His protection.
Right. We said, come into my heart, Lord Jesus. Read my mind and my heart. This is what David cried. Read my heart and my mind. Know my thoughts, O Lord. See me. Lord, you know me. I long to know you. He does not come without welcome. And this is the exact antithesis of who our Father is. Again, I mean, it's not unknown, but sin in this manner cannot just be poo-pooed and shoo-shooed across, just as you've been saying. The people's spiritual capacity to realize and understand things, to comprehend things, has been so dulled through all these various attacks and means that we have become insensitive to recognizing that which is a threat. We dance outside of a viper's den, and we sit and eat in the lion's den, and we think no harm will come to us. The lion might have been laying down. There's only one thing we can do, and that is seek our Father and learn to abide. See, listen, everything the adversary does in this world, he gains through a legal authority which we give him. If we abide in the righteousness of our Father, then we take away from him legal rights to us. Not only that, if he should seek to attack us while we are abiding, this means going to him, confessing our sins, accepting that cleansing of his blood, knowing that we are righteous in him. Then, when the enemy attacks us, the Father defends us. But if he has legal right, and if that's what you feel in your heart, that he has a right to do so, then you lose all grounds and authority by which you could be defended, because we don't have the ability to defend ourselves. But our Father, man, don't mess with my dad. He gets really upset when I'm in his will and somebody messes with me. He then says, I will take vengeance upon thine enemies. I will recompense upon them 10 times the damage they have done to you. See, I don't need to defend myself when I'm abiding in him. He then becomes my defense. I have to be abiding. I have to have that consciousness of abiding in his will in my heart. This is why he tells us to come and confess our sins. It's there while you go to pray. You remember that you have off against someone. Go and ask for forgiveness and make it right and come back. And he says that do that over and over. Cleanse your heart. Know what his sacrifice. See, it's not just the sacrifice of Jesus being acceptable to him. The sacrifice that Jesus has to be acceptable to us. We have to accept that sacrifice as well. That's faith. See, it's two parts. When we accept it, when we accept his sacrifice as able to cleanse us, then we have a clean conscience before him, and then we can pray according to his will. Then when people come up against us, they're not coming up against me. They're coming up against God, his body. It's a physical attack on his body, a spiritual attack on his body. Believe me, he's going to defend himself.
And this is kind of what's missing from there's a lot of mainstream programs and a lot of mainstream publications that miss this spiritual component, this aspect that no one ever talks about.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But see, this is what I'm saying. It's all connected. There's no accidents. There's God and his will, and there's the adversary and what he's attempting to do. There's nothing else. Everything is either a distraction from the enemy. It can. There's only two ways. Any sci-fi thing you can think of, any crazy imagination you can have, or any thought, they come from one source or the other, and they're based in a real truth. What we have to do is learn to do discernment and to understand. And, you can't measure anything unless you have a starting point. I mean, you could roll out 7 inches on a tape measure, but 7 inches of what? You have to have a starting point. The scriptures are our starting point, and by that we measure everything else against it.
That's very true. Well, let me ask you one last question before you cut you loose.
Sure.
Now, for the next few Sundays, Pastor Langford and Steve Quill, we're going to be talking about fasting and about the spiritual, having spiritual programmings on Sunday nights. I believe, based on what I heard, and I don't know, Joe can back me up on this, that we've probably slowed some things down, based on collective prayer of people across the country. Do you believe that to be true?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you believe that's okay?
Absolutely, it's a must. There's a man by the name of Andrew Murray. He was a preacher in South Africa during the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he said this: fasting is the means by which we let go of the things of hand so that we can grab hold of the things of God.
Interesting.
What fasting does is it denies ourselves. It strengthens us in our discipline to seek after the things of God. It's a way in which we subject the flesh to the will of God. We deny the flesh its desire. I mean, you think about when you get hungry or thirsty or anything, without even thinking, you're feeding it. And it says that our flesh is at enmity with God. And so it's a way of saying, no, you get what you want, flesh, when I'm done speaking to my Father, and not until then. It's part of a spiritual discipline, which would, if we were in it, we wouldn't be so prone to being fooled. We wouldn't be so prone to being deceived. We would have a mental clarity given to us by the Holy Spirit. So by fasting, we let go of one hand, we let go of the things of men so that we may grab hold of the things of God.
Understood. Chad, God bless you, my friend. What a great call. I want to thank you very much for that. Wow.
God bless you guys.
Very good. All right, man.
Thanks, Chad. We love you, too.
Let's go right back to the phones here. We're going to go to area code. You ready for this? 717. 717, you're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Hey, how you doing, Doug and Joe?
Very well. What's on your mind tonight?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear us?
Me?
Yeah.
Hello?
What's yeah, can you hear us?
Go ahead, Colin.
It's great to be on with you guys. I'm Sean from Central Pennsylvania, second time calling in. So right. One of the points I wanted to make calling in is I've been been listening to the show for about a year and a half now, and I've been hearing that, like you guys discussing, Doug, you and Joe, about what's going on with the administration, with the whole IRS and the scandals coming out, and and kind of feeling like, is this missteps from Obama? Is this, maybe the elite being, finished with him because of things he's done or things he knows or something like that? I don't know if you remember the conversation you guys were having maybe about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
the question is, could it very well be that the powers that be are done with Obama, and they could throw Obama to the wolves, whether it be legally or even a sanctioned type of event, But go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw this out there just to food for thought. Think about this. Two books that I've read is one by Alice Bailey, The Externalization of the Hierarchy, and also by Manny P. Hall, The Secret Destiny of America. And when you read those two books, I think what's going on right now in the administration is, one, with all these things coming out, we're seeing the externalization of things that have been hidden, which Alice Bailey talked about, that they would have these people in waiting, ready to serve the masters, she calls it, at their will, and at their, whenever they're initiated, they'll come out. So I think we're starting to see that now, and that's why these type of things are coming out into the public. And the second thing is when Mandy P. Hall was talking about the secret destiny of America, he was talking about destroying it. And I think to destroy and bring down America, the three things they would have to do is take down our economy, deal with our military, and also deal with us socially, and cause a revolution in this country. Because if you study what the elite have been doing going back to the French Revolution, they definitely had a huge hand in kicking off the French Revolution. And I think they're playing out the same tactics that they tried to play out there when they were in France, kicking that off in America right now. They want to bring about, I think, these missteps that we think we're seeing. I think that's a plan of the agenda, is to set off anger within these groups in America in regards to what they're doing. Because one of the things I was thinking about, if you want to kind of set off a revolution in America, there's no better way than having a scandal within the IRS. Because whether you're left, right, whatever your political views are, nobody's really comfortable with the IRS.
You know what, folks? That's a good point. That's a good point you just made.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people are intimidated by the IRS when they're not targeting people, just when they do their taxes.
So I think a scandal like that, and for them to do what they've done, and I'll bring it out into the public, I think what they're trying to do is incite rage within these militia groups, the Tea Party movement, whatever movement have you that's speaking out against the government right now. And kind of like what Nathan Leal was saying, is they want to instill a revolution within America. And I think that's what's going on right now with the administration. I think that's what we're seeing. That's why they went after the Second Amendment. I don't think they went after the Second Amendment just to take the guns. I think they went after the Second Amendment to know the response was going to be that America was going to arm itself. And that's what America did.
Doubt. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that they are doing things to try to get a response, a violent response, more likely than not, to what they're doing. And if that is the case, how long until we start to see, something like drone strikes here in America, or something just so crazy because they see what they're doing is not getting a reaction that they want, which is the, we're going to march on Washington with guns reaction, which is we're going to go after these people or those people. What will they have to do? Or will people be able to see through it, or at least be lazy enough if they don't see through it, not to do it?
But I think that caller had a good point about the do I want to say, well, I guess I do, the political neutrality of the hatred with respect to the IRS. So it's kind of interesting with respect to that. Now, guns, not so much.
The
freedom
second
of the
thing,
press, not so much. Yeah.
Another point I wanted to make is I happened to catch Piers Morgan, which, I can't stand the man, but one of the things that kind of took my breath away, if I can use that term, because I don't know what else to say in regards to what he said. All of a sudden he said, I can't remember who he had on the show. I think it was a gentleman that was on The Apprentice. I forgot his name. Famous guy,
hold on.
A comedian, I think he is.
Name's on the tip of my tongue. Oh gosh. Alex wrote about him earlier. I think today. Last night. Who?
Is that what you're talking about?
No. Stacey Herbert was the last I knew.
This was a heavyset guy. He's a comedian. He was on the Celebrity Apprentice. And he was on Piers Morgan's show, and he was talking.
I don't know who you're
talking, and the conversation they were having was in regards to the scandals coming out. And Piers Morgan said, and he used the word tyranny. And I'm like, wait a second, this guy is definitely a globalist shell. He's definitely used by the globalists. And for him to start talking about tyranny within our government, that just lets me feel, it makes me feel that they are instilling, and they are, these missteps that is going on within the Obama administration is on purpose. To bring America to the point where they see the straight out corruption going on in the government, and people are just fed up and ready to go to straight arms against the government. And I think that's what they're doing, and they're trying to see how much the American people will put up with before they go out to straight revolution in this country. And I'm not supporting that. I'm more on leaning with Nathan Liao and how he feels. I think as Christians we should be standing our ground. I'm not a pacifist in regards to my family. I believe that you should protect your family as a Christian. I think you have that right biblically. But
Absolutely.
I'm very iffy about us bearing arms right now against the government. I think that is something that they want. I think it would give them the backing or the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like the okay to carry out their full plan with DHS and FEMA and all those things that they have in waiting. I think they're looking for the first move from the opposite side in regards to a revolution, and they'll just go and carry out what they already have in waiting. And that's my feel with what's going on within the government, because I don't think they're stupid enough, if I can use that word, to be allowing all these scandals to be coming out at the same time. And
I'm not sure.
I'm kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take Obama would have to be the most stupidest man I've ever known in my life to let all these things happen, and then for him to get on when he's interviewed and asked, when did you learn about these things? And he's like, well, I learned about it with the public on Friday News. I mean,
but what if it's not Obama though? What if it's not Obama? See, okay, and I'm saying that. What if Obama's just the face guy? What if it's something above that?
Yeah, and I agree with you there, and I think what Obama's been put in there is the plan has always been to put him in, for him to start going tyrannical like he is and making these moves as a socialist communist to instill a firestorm within America socially as to coincide with the World War III about to happen and also the collapse of the economy, because it's to take down America, to make sure that there's no response from the people in regards to reestablishing any type of organized government when these things happened, is to also destroy America socially. And to do that, you got to cause civil unrest, and you got to make the government and the seat of the president totally degraded within the eyes of the public. And it will totally cause the nation to totally rebel against the government system that we have. And I think that's what's going on right now with Obama and this administration. I think the globalists are looking to totally tear down our nation and what has founded our nation and what's made it great. And if you can destroy the government from within and totally destroy it in the eyes of the people, I mean, I think that's a huge tool they can use with the other two things about to come down against the nation.
Interesting perception, and I want to thank you for offering that. This is, folks, I want everyone to think about that, because there is a lot of potential in what he said. Thank you for the call, by the way, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Keep up the good work, guys. I love your show, and I pray for you guys, and I hope God. Well, I know, I should say, God is going to protect you and your family. And thank you, guys.
I know that too. Joe, what a great call.
Absolutely. And thank you for your prayers, and we can feel them. No matter what the type of support, whether it's prayers or spreading the word about the show, we definitely feel all of that, and we know it's there, and it is such a blessing. And we're praying for you guys, too.
One more thing real quick. The other day you guys were talking about, and I know you guys got to take another call, but you were talking about Jonathan Kleck's video about the Freedom Tower. Hello?
Yeah.
And after you guys mentioned that, I went and watched that. Oh, I can't believe if what he's showing in that video, if any bit of it is the truth of what that Freedom Tower is. I mean, it took my breath away. I had no words after watching what he brought out in that video. In regards to what was your
favorite part? Or what do you think was the most important part of that video?
The fact that they turned the thing in Mecca upside down, and they planted that into ground zero, and they have a circle around it so people can walk around that thing, just like they're walking around it in Mecca for the Muslims.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's a spire, a Muslim spire on top of that building that's going to call out to worship. And then when you read the Bible and you hear that, everybody will be called to worship the beast, I think that's an eye-opener for us in this nation right now. Of what that building is.
Have you seen The Harbinger?
Yes.
Have you seen the movie? Okay. So that information is The Harbinger. If you have seen The Harbinger, then you go watch that One World Freedom Tower Exposed. That will really, that is a compliment to The Harbinger, really. We will rebuild stronger, whatever that phrase is that the president wrote on the beam that holds that Muslim spire up there. No, the video was fascinating and eye-opening. And it really makes sense why they are using biblical verses about judgment and about rebuilding it stronger instead of relying on the Lord.
Yeah, but more than the scandals and more than everything that's going on, the Christian church needs to wake up. So if that, basically they built the biggest mosque in the history of this world in the midst of New York City. And right now this nation is blind to what that building is, if that's what's going on, which I believe it is from what he pointed out there, because there's no denying some of the things that he pointed out. And I don't even have words to say the fact that we have all these Muslims in Obama's administration. He's definitely a secret Muslim, in the closet in regards to telling people he's Christian, but he's definitely Muslim. And then when he pointed out, another thing in that video is they showed you the ring, which I didn't really notice this, but then he zooms in on the script, the writing on the ring, and it says there's no God but Allah, and he's been wearing that ring since before he's even married. I don't know if you caught that in the video.
I've seen the WorldNet daily reports on that, but aside from what they've claimed, I don't know of any way to validate if that is actually inscribed on the ring. I don't know if they did for certain, but it is definitely, if you look at the whole picture, it seems to fit what he does, what he is, who he is. And whether he is the one, heavily involved in the policy making and all the things we're seeing come to fruition, or he is being told what to do, in my opinion, is just the same. If you are supporting evil, not the one carrying it out, but just supporting it and let it happen, it's just as bad as doing it yourself.
Yeah, watching that video just got me angry, and I've been trying to keep my peace and walk with the Lord and stay in prayer. But that, seeing that building and seeing what they put in the midst of Ground Zero, you know, it just should get every American angry.
No, I agree.
Like
it should get every American thinking. Yeah, and
well,
you know, I hear a lot of people say that, the righteous anger. I'm glad you brought this up. And I don't want to keep you on if you don't want to stay on for a minute. But I'm not sure that there is a place for us to have righteous anger. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. I can understand there is a difference between being frustrated, being angry, being upset. But is it a biblical practice to be is it for righteous anger, to have righteous anger? And who of us is righteous to be able to be angry? This is what I've been thinking about. And not to put you on the spot, caller, but...
yeah, but I guess my answer to that is, the only thing I can go off of is the time when we see the Lord Jesus the most angry is when he was whipping the money changers out of the temple. And if you do a study on what those money changers were, I mean, everybody was traveling from all over the globe pretty much to make a sacrifice. If you're Jewish, you had to come to the temple to make a sacrifice. And people were taking, you know, the best that they have, their family, to bring a sacrifice. And they were having the high priest look at their sacrifices and claim it unworthy to be sacrificed. And they had to buy another sacrifice from the temple. Not only that they had to change their currency over, because they were traveling usually with foreign currency, and change it over into a currency that was going to be acceptable within the temple. And then they were charging them, you know, pretty much usury on that exchange. So it was a huge racket that was going on. And then think about the global banking system that we have in regards to the global elite and what they're doing right now. And you see Jesus totally have righteous indignation in regards to what was going on. And I think as a Christian and a believer, I think in the situation that we are in right now and what these people are doing and how they're raping and stealing and totally lying in regards to what they're doing, I think a believer is definitely right in regards to being angry. I think in our anger we need to remember we should not sin in our anger, but get angry. I think there's no reason why you shouldn't be showing people your a little bit of emotion in regards to the things that are happening and what is going on. And I think sometimes that's what wakes certain people up. I've talked to people about these things, and I've stayed calm. And then when they see me kind of get a little heated about what I'm talking about, it's kind of, I think, perked their interest a little bit more. That the fact that, you know, I'm emotional. I'm not just, you know, letting these things go by, because too many people talk about these things like it's not big. It's not serious. Right. And some days I have to stand back, Joe, from what I know, and I'm just like, we're living in a total matrix system, you know, total unreality, and people are going about their merry lives not realizing what's going on. I mean, the church right now, my biggest heart cry right now is for the so-called Church of the Lord that are asleep. I mean, one of the points I made out to somebody, and I don't want to take too much time, but this I think was an amazing point. I was talking to somebody about all the things that are going on within the government and the New World Order control system and all that set up. And I said this to them. I said, you know, back in the time when the Lord Jesus Christ came to the Jews, they missed their visitation of the Lord because they weren't looking for him. They weren't searching the scriptures to see when they were about to be visited. I mean, even when he read the book of Isaiah and closed it up, that should have set them on fire in who he was, and it didn't. Very few people at that time actually woke up to who the Lord was and the visitation of the Messiah. Well, I think that the New Testament church, the Gentile believers today, everything in us should be searching the scriptures for the end times and the signs of the times that we're in. And the church is asleep today, just like the Jews were asleep to the visitation of Christ. We're seeing play out the same thing that played out with the nation of Israel, with this nation. they don't realize, us as a Christian nation doesn't realize the times we're living in. And we should be very observant, looking for these signs that are pointing to the coming of the Antichrist system. And, us as a Christian nation today, the saddest part of everything I know is that the church is asleep at the wheel.
You are hitting on some very important points, and just like there was deception in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, just like there was deception when Jesus came back, there is deception today in the end times. And I say end times because the Bible says the generation that sees Israel become a nation again will not pass away until all things are done. Right. So whether we don't have to debate right now if we're, what time period we're in, how close we are to the end. But as long as we know how the seasons, and that puts us in a time frame of any time. Anything could happen at any time now, is my thinking. But most people are not concerned about that. They are too caught up in their own life, receiving things for themselves instead of receiving the love of the Lord.
Yeah, and you saw the same thing going on at the time of Israel when Christ was there and the Lord Jesus was there with them. They were so consumed in the cares of themselves at that time that they missed who he was. And they were totally looking. And I hear this from everybody right now too, and the thing that I relate back to that time with the time that we're living in today. Everybody wants proof. Like when I'm talking to somebody, they want to see it on the news, or they want to see it on, CNN or something like that. And Jesus said this. He said, "What?" And I think he said, "The generation that is searching for a sign shall have no sign." It was something to that effect that Jesus was saying. And basically what he was saying is, a generation that is only looking for constantly see proof and see more proof and see more proof, and they're not willing to just take the Lord at his word and what he's already said, that generation will not get a sign. And I see that so many times. I'm talking to Christian believers. I'm telling them about what's coming. I'm trying to show them what's going on. I mean, I've taken them to Rules for Radicals from Saul Alinsky and shown them the dedication of that book. And Obama and Hillary Clinton are quoting the book. And I think Hillary Clinton even wrote her college paper on Saul Alinsky. And meanwhile, he's dedicating this book to Lucifer. And I'm like, you guys got to wake up to what's going on in this nation right now. We are being totally controlled by these people who are totally controlled by Lucifer. They're telling you it in their writings. They're dedicating their writings to him.
Yep.
And they still want to see more proof than that.
Yeah. And you have the United Nations and people who work inside the United Nations and branches openly stating their allegiance and what they expect the population to do when the time comes. But I want to thank you for your call tonight. It was nice talking to you, and we're going to hit the phone again.
Again, I just want to say to you guys, I'm so blessed to have you guys and your show, you and your father. I think it's amazing the relationship you guys have. I think you're a blessing from the Lord in this time. Too many, because you hear other news sources and you don't hear them talking about the Lord, and they don't have that foundation at all. I think that's such a blessing with you and your father, and I think you guys should know that we as a body of believers are definitely holding you guys up in prayer. We thank the Lord for you guys. And the Bible says give honor to who honor is due, and I definitely feel that you and your father deserve some honor for what you guys are doing. And I for one, really appreciate it. So
I want to say all the honor goes to the Lord, but we are definitely blessed to have each other and to be doing what we're doing, and I want to thank you for your kind words and your support.
Well, thank you. God bless. Amen.
Amen. You have a good night. All right. We are at, 20 minutes to 10 already. I don't have my studio up. And my father, I don't know if he's back yet. He came over here to, we are in separate hotel rooms right next to each other. He came over here to tell me something, and he locked himself out of his room. So he had to run downstairs to get another key made. He should be back any second. And I don't have control of the phone, so I'm just going to do something real quick until he gets back. I want to read Luke chapter 9, verse 22. It says, saying, the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised up the third day. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world, and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed. And when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. And Jesus is referring here, this is Jesus talking, referring to first how he would be killed and delivered up by the elders, the priests, and the scribes, only to be raised again on the third day, which is the resurrection, our payment in full, so that we can go to heaven. And further, in 23, it says, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I see a lot of debating, sometimes arguing, about what our place is in self-defense and self-preservation in protecting our families. And I know it is a important and serious issue. I do feel that we have a duty to protect our families, especially the children and the women, with our lives. But say it's just you, and they're rounding up Christians, we'll say. Do you have a duty to follow the Lord, as he says, and take up your cross? Or do you have a duty for self-preservation, as we are called to overcome? I'd like to hear what people have to say about this. If we're going to be taking calls for the rest of the night, I would really like to hear what some people have to say. And I think it is... Oh, did you find the key?
Did
I
you...
said you got locked out, yeah. I told them.
Oh, my word. You know, real life, real radio, and I'm serious. We've got a virtual radio station here with equipment and wires and cables and what have you. In the flurry of things behind the scenes, I did something very stupid. Not only did I do something stupid, when I attempted to de-stupefy, if that's the right word, to explain to the manager the situation, because the situation, how we travel is a little bit different than normal. So sometimes, I don't want to get into it, but anyway, I had to prove.
You can't go down there with your ID. Let's put it this way: we can't go down there with our IDs and say, "Can we have a key to our room?"
Exactly.
Because there's no record of us being here.
Exactly. Yes. If you would contact us at our hotel, for example, we're not registered. So that does present a problem, only when you do something stupid like I did. And,
I want to how you got that key after the show. Or maybe on the show. I don't know.
No. I just had a lot of splaining to do, Lucy. Seriously, I had a lot of splaining to do, and it was no problem. And I was escorted back up by the management, and it just happens. Things just happen. Weird things happen sometimes. But so what I miss? Catch me up.
Well, I finished off with a caller.
Yeah. Good.
And he was on for a while. Great call. And good. We were talking about the One World Freedom Tower video. One World Freedom Tower exposed.
Oh, that's one thing I did want to get into, and I'm sorry I missed that part. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it, because the One World Freedom Tower exposed, I think, is a key to what's going on today. And I don't think enough coverage is being given to that. That's my 2 cents. Anyway.
I guess to sum up the video, what was in that One World Freedom Tower video exposed, the Jonathan Kleck, the guy who makes the video, and he goes on to talk about, he first opens up with a verse out of Isaiah, and he talks about how these people who Isaiah is referring to, I want to find the verse, because this is such a powerful verse when you think about what is going on today, and in the context that we see this happening. I mean, we see this happening right now. You talk about the Bilderberg Group. This is what this could be referring to. Chapter 25, I think. I'm not sure. I got to find it here, but he talks about in Isaiah. It talks about people taking up secret counsel, saying, "Who are we? You can't. We didn't do this." Okay, let's see. All right, I'll find this. But no, the bottom line of that is the Twin Towers, symbolizing man and a woman, or I think man and woman, DNA, and the tearing down of the two and bringing together the one, the satanic tower, with the new race of what we call them, Nephilim, as in the days of Noah, so shall it too be in the days of the coming of the Lord, that there will be a different type of race here. And it goes to clips from Lady Gaga, talking about when she was in her egg at the Grammys or the whatever award show that was, saying it symbolizes the birth of a new race. And we see this with a lot of entertainers, singers, where they have these alter egos. They're possessed by demons. And this is really what they're doing. And they are trying to form a new race of people. They're trying to pollute God's perfect creation. And this is why we know you're at the end time.
And here's what I think, okay? And I think that there's more to, so much more to this. How tall is the One World Freedom Tower? Do we know?
Well, we know it is the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere now.
All right, we're looking at a situation too where there is an attempt, I should say. I want to be careful with my wording because I want to be very precise with my wording. And are we not seeing the Tower of Babel being rebuilt? If maybe that's not the precise way of saying it. If you look at the One World Trade Center and the Two World Trade Center, and you look at that as being two strands of DNA, okay, and I think was a movie which the YouTube video to which you refer, was that where it got into the DNA of the towers?
Yeah.
Or the DNA? Okay. All right.
Yes.
So you had the two towers kind of crashing down and then mixing up, and then the one tower coming up, and then you look at the spirals, and you look at the minarets on top of the tower, and you look at the beam that's put in place. Well, 1,776 feet tall, I believe, is what. And I could be wrong on this.
Oh no! I remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the total amount for the Is this the whole tower after the spire was put on?
Well, all right. I'm not exactly certain. I believe it is. You've got 1776, the number on the Great Seal for a new Order of the Ages. Now, this is exactly the building they are at, or have made, I should say, for the One World Trade Center Tower.
I'll look it up. How's that?
Okay, that would be fine. Now, if you look at the symbolism behind this, the phoenix rising from the ashes, a new race of Osiris, and or a new race of one of the, a new race from one of the two pillars that the Twin Towers represented, the twin pillars of Solomon's Temple. Don't forget the pillars of Solomon's Temple were revered by Freemasonic Luciferians. They worshipped those. The two pillars were a total of 23 cubits high. Now think about this, and I know this is pretty heady stuff, but these people think long, way deeper than we can ever think. You've got two pairs of 23 chromosomes in the temple that is our body, correct? 23 plus 23. If you take two pairs of 23 chromosomes, is 46.
Okay, we got the height of the One World Trade Center, structural height 776 feet, 541 meters. Okay,
so it is 1,776 feet. So compare that to the two trade towers before at 23 cubits high, matching two pairs of 23 chromosomes in the temples that are our body, and take the 223s add up to 46. Now, it was Psalm 46 that Barack Obama read on the 10th anniversary of the destruction of the World Trade Center. And it was Psalm 23 that George Bush read out when right after this happened. So is this a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences at this level. If you look at if you look at other things, now some of this stuff, I'm going to throw everything in here. You can choose and decide what's relevant here. But consider that the numerology relating to the Twin Towers as well. When were the towers built? They were built in 1968. In fact, I remember when I was younger watching on the news channels the building of towers, but they were built in 1968 and they were destroyed in 2001 for a total of 33 years. And don't forget 33 degrees of Freemasonry. The towers, physically, if you looked at them physically from abroad, as you cross the GW Bridge, for example, or stood on the other side of, you stood on Brooklyn, and looked at the towers, as I've done numerous times, looked like a number 11. Both towers were 110 stories high. Well, 11 times 10, basically. The first tower, or the Towers of Light Memorial, went from the 11th, 11 again, of March to April 13th, which was 33 days, 3 times 11 once again. I guess what I'm saying to you is, are we not seeing something here that defies mere coincidence? I think we are. And I think that this, there is much more to this tower. The spires, the minaret, the wearing of the Muslim ring, Islamic ring that Obama wears. And at first I was very...
Let's back up a sec to the spire and the minaret. I didn't know what a minaret was. I knew what the spire was. Did not know what function or role it played. And this is what really, this is what caught me. If you just search in a search engine, Islamic spire or Islam spire, you'll get pictures of the World Trade Center, the One World Trade Tower.
Well, but I think some of that, though, and folks, you can feel free to disagree.
And I mean, I know that
it's driven by the searches, but okay.
Okay, but I guess you could do this. Look up the, I don't know, top 10 spires of Islam in the world and compare them to what you see at the top of that building.
Oh, I agree. And then you've got the pyramids, the upside-down pyramids, and the pyramids that form the spires or form the architecture that goes up through the spires. And don't forget, in Islam, that is the spires, the minarets, are the tallest, are supposed to be the tallest in the city, and from which the call to prayer is announced. So I believe totally, that what we're seeing here is a monument to Islam. Now, the other thing that's not talked about, and we talked about this, we wrote about this extensively a couple of years ago, is the memorial to Flight 93, where there is essentially a crescent on the ground. Let me give you an example. When you take an above-ground pool out, we'll say, the 24-foot or 23-foot or I don't know, however big they come, swimming pool, above-ground pool out, you know that there's excavation done to level out the pool when you put it in your backyard. Well, when you take it out, there's like a circle, like a moon, if you will. Well, if let's say one end of the yard is a little bit deeper than the other, so you've got to excavate that part of the yard. Well, what happens is you end up with something that looks like a crescent moon, depending on the excavation done. With the Flight 93 memorial, if you look at that, the proposed memorial and the actual memorial, what you have is a copse of trees that actually forms a crescent-like moon. And people argued, and I had talked with the gentleman that had done the investigation on this, and there is a little question in my mind that this was a monument to Islam right from the beginning. Now, people might say, well, that's crazy. Folks, look into that. If you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com and type in Memorial Flight 93, you can do the research on that. So you've got a memorial to Islam, including at one point, and I have to verify this, reportedly they took these out, but they were planting trees and or putting bricks in to represent the hijackers as well, with respect to the victims of Flight 93. Now, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Now, again, I'm not sure if they had modified that. I have to verify that because a lot of people lost interest. We just simply lost our ability to track that as quickly or as closely as we needed to. But I'm telling you, you've got monuments both in New York and Shanksville, regardless of where they are right now, but they're in Shanksville, or what stages they are in Shanksville. In New York, that is definitely a monument to Islam, and that's what I'm saying, I suppose. There's just too many coincidences, and I just flat out want to tell you that's my belief. All right, let's go to the phones. We're going to go to 937. I don't know if Joe took you. We're going to go to 937. 937, you're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann. Did Joe take you in my absence or no?
Yes, how are you guys doing?
Very well. You weren't on before, were you?
Yes, I was at one time.
I mean just tonight.
Oh, no. This is one of my first time tonight.
Oh, okay. Because I
thought you meant like before.
By locking myself.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's fine. Yeah, I did something stupid. I was actually... What's on your mind?
Yeah, I want to discuss a little bit about the news coming out with the stuff about the NSA has getting all the information about the phone, our internet, and as a matter of fact, NBC just broke just now, well, not just now, but it was just about 20 minutes ago, that they've been monitoring our internet for suspicious emails, which we all knew that that's been going on. But they're just now coming out with all this, and I want to know what you guys think about them now coming out with all this, all of a sudden just now telling us, hey, yeah, they were doing this, so what? What's your guys' intake on that?
Okay, intake, what's our take on what the NSA, on the larger thing, larger implications, or specifically what's your question? I'm not sure I follow your question.
Okay, when news came out with the reports about U.S. spies mined internet data and all the news agencies, and about them having the ability to monitor internet providers for suspicious messages, what's your take on about basically on what you think of why are they coming out like this? Why are they now doing it? Me, I personally think they're coming out and saying it because, for one, they must got way too much information. They got what they need or something. Or for two, to make us mad, make people want to rise up and say, hey, I don't like this no more. I'm going to do something about it. But what's your guys' take on it?
Yeah. The caller, a couple callers before you said the same thing. The anger aspect, okay. But I got a little different take on this. Could it be, and I'll ask you this, could it be that they are now so brazen that they don't care anymore? That they know that they can run roughshod over us. They know that look, you go to the airport, they will seal you up, nuke you, do what they will with you. You get stopped on the street, the same thing. Pretty much, they'll stick the IRS on you without any type of recourse. You don't have any recourse to that. So they know that we're not going to respond, or we're not going to fight back. So maybe it's a little of both, but maybe it's also because they know that they can. It's like a kid, you can, so why not? What do you think about that?
Well, see, beforehand, when because I've been knowing about them, the tyranny of the government since 2008. I'm now 23. Back then I was 18. And I started it coming to light after getting out of high school. And back then they would say, oh, no, we're not doing it, we're denying it. And then finally they're coming out and saying, oh, yeah, we're doing it. It's just all in line with the Benghazi incident. It's just everything's coming to fruition. Like, I don't know what you guys think, like the nation's sins are being revealed or something like that of some sort.
That's an interesting way to put it. The nation's sins are being revealed. Like
the government sins are now being revealed. God is revealing the sin of this nation and the government officials to his people, is what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna have to mull that one over a little bit. I never really looked at it from that angle. And folks, I'd urge you to do the same thing. Caller, we're up against the top of the hour break. Anything more before I cut you loose?
No. Well, for one, I enjoy you guys' radio. I listen to it every day, and every day it's just becoming more and more news and more eye-opening. People waking up, and hopefully that people will continue to wake up because the time is short.
Oh, caller, you are so right, my friend. The time is short. It is getting shorter. I can feel it. I'll tell you what. I can feel it as I'm in D.C. right now. I can feel it. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for your call. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report on the 6th day of June, 6/6/13. How's that? 12/13, 6/6/13. I'm Doug Hagmann. We're going to be right back after these short messages. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite you to visit one of our sponsors, one of our great sponsors, Grandland of Firearms of British Columbia. Look, if you're up in Canada and if you're up in the province of British Columbia, you can drive over to 522 South Dogwood, Unit Number 7 in beautiful Campbell River, British Columbia, Canada, the salmon capital of the world. Take your fishing pole. Why not? Take a couple of days. Go up there, and while you're there, stop in and visit our good friends, Carl and Lori Granlund of Granlund Firearms. Now, all you have to do, folks, is go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on the icon for Granlund Firearms in the upper right-hand corner of our website. It'll take you to their website. There you will find a complete listing of their gun stock list, several various T-shirts and hats, survival equipment, hunting equipment, everything you need for survival supplies. That's Granlund Firearms of British Columbia, GranlundFirearms.com. And while you're there, sign their guest book, tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you, and you'll get a big smile from them, and they'll say, hey, thanks. Now, seriously, great people, great prices. Granlund Firearms of British Columbia. And, also, ladies and gentlemen, too, two more announcements before we cut back to the program. Sunday, Pastor David Langford and Steve Quill will be on, and we will be putting up the direct link to that program here within the next 12 hours from our website at HomelandSecurityUS.com. So that's Sunday from 9 to midnight, the first of 5 Sundays of fasting as we go to the middle of the year. That's July 3rd, 2013, an important time in the Luciferian calendar that we have to keep our eyes open for. But fasting and, of course, prayer, that's some spiritual programming that we all need. That's going to be this Sunday. And also, if you're in the Raleigh, Apex, west of Raleigh, North Carolina area this weekend, don't forget to stop and see Gold Star Mother Susan Price. What a great lady she is, Susan Price. And also Joe and I will be presenting at a seminar called National Insecurity. If you want more information on that, click on the upper right-hand link on the menu bar of our website, National Insecurity. They'll tell you all about it. I don't even know if there's anything left, any spots left. I know it was expanded twice already in terms of the occupancy. But it's a free seminar. We'll be speaking. Susan Price will be speaking. It's going to be a great couple-day event, and then on Sunday services. So that is in Apex, North Carolina. We're on our way there after some meetings here tomorrow. With that,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Joe, okay, welcome. Yes, actually, we're just coming back to the third hour, and we had a great phone call just moments ago, of course, as you heard, but I'll tell you what, let's just come right back without any intro bumper music at all because of the time frame that we're at here. Folks, welcome back to the third hour of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, this 6th day of June 2013. Joe Hagmann next to me, sort of, kind of, just follow the blue, yellow, and, well, green, I suppose, cable around the corner, and there he will be.
I could probably put my hand through the wall and grab you and bring you right back over to this side. That's how close.
And yet we still need 75 feet of cable. But overlooking, we're on the road, folks, overlooking beautiful Washington, D.C. Interesting. I don't know, it's beautiful. Yeah. But
at the beginning, the trees are beautiful. Some of the people are okay. The leadership, anything but.
Well, we need a fire hose. We should, instead of how we got here, we should have driven a fire truck with a fire hose attached and a clean house. Yes, I said that, United States Secret Service. Of course, that's metaphorically speaking. Well, maybe not, but certainly a fire hose would be in order to clean out the debris in the nation's capital. With that, let's go back to the phones. Joe, what do you say about that, my friend?
Well, I can't see the phones, but if you will control them, I'm all for it. I didn't even know if we were going to be able to do the show because he couldn't get the Skype going, I couldn't get the studio going, and we came in about 5 to 10 minutes before the show. But let's go to the callers.
All right. We're going to take you by hold time, okay? So just understand that. And if I happen to get you twice, I apologize. We're going to 509 area code. That's 509 area code. You're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann. Welcome to our nation's capital for this show.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think probably you need to add a bunch of bleach in that fire truck for that for hosing down Washington D.C. Number one. That would help. Couple of things. Joe had asked a question about whether when they come for the Christians, should you pick up your cross? I'm not sure exactly if he meant should you just surrender and go or not.
Yeah. I was saying that people who have families, people who have children, I understand that when they come, the importance of protecting your family, protecting your children, laying down your life to protect your loved ones. But if it was just you, and I was referring to a verse in Luke chapter 9, verse 22 through 23, where, and I'll just read it real quick here, if you don't mind. It says, the Son of Man must suffer.
I think you stroked out again there.
And be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised on the third day. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it.
Caller, what say you?
Well, what I believe is in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, there was Jesus Christ gave himself up. He allowed it to happen. And in the Old Testament, the one that comes to my mind is Moses, who went before Pharaoh, sent by God. Other than that, you take Elijah and how many of the other prophets of old, and even Christians who lived in the catacombs to escape, be they single or married, it doesn't really matter. Never do I know where God said, well, just go in, lay down your life, die. They all ran for their life. They even ran from God to try to escape from having to do their job. But, I mean, he got their attention for doing that. But never do I know of, and if I'm wrong, correct me, were any Christians, I mean, in the Roman days, if it were to the fact that, if you're single or married or otherwise, that how far would Christianity have gotten if the day the Romans said, okay, Christianity is illegal, turn yourself in? How many Christians would there be today?
Well, many were persecuted, and many still. I mean, look at Israel and look at the Jewish people. How many times did they come after the Jews, and how many were killed in every country across the world while they were dispersed? I'm not advocating one way or another. I'm just putting the question out there, and the way I understand.
Well, I agree. I agree, but they were taken. Or they were put in captivity by God for their lack of faith. And I believe that if the day comes and God says, Dan, lay down your weapon. If I don't do what he says, and if I pull the trigger and I'm not supposed to have done that, I honestly believe it'll go click. And they'll say, Dan, I said, lay it down.
I agree.
But other than that, I think a person should go fighting tooth and toenail.
Exactly.
I mean, if all you got is a sharp stick, you use it. A toothpick, you use it.
As long as now, let me clarify this with what Joe is saying, and I hope because we've had this discussion so many times, and this is dinner table discussion, ladies and gentlemen. This is stuff that you guys talk about at your dinner table, if you're a Christian family.
It needs to be discussed, yeah.
Yeah, but look, I don't believe in one. I don't believe in being a pacifist against evil. I believe if God directs me, and I do believe that God will direct all of us at the given time, because a man who fails to take care of his family and himself is no better than an infidel. I don't have the scripture passage from that. I agree with this caller, Joe. I don't believe that unless we're specifically instructed to lay down our weapons, I don't believe that we are to do so.
Okay. We are lambs. We're lambs. We're the lambs of God. But right. Never do I know of any place in the Bible where the Christians were told to go, just put your head on the chopping block for it, make it easy. Never. Exactly. And the next thing is, guys, I love you. Like tonight, you locked yourself out of the room. You guys are the epitome of humanity in doing your show, and that's one thing that makes it, I think, so special.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we don't even try to be classy.
I loved it. I thought, that's something I would do.
Oh, my.
Okay,
as soon as I heard that click. All right, thanks, my friend. God bless you.
Thank you. You have a nice evening. Bye.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, as soon as I heard that click, I knew what I did, and I thought, oh man, I'm looking at the cables. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can somehow wiggle it. No, and then of course, for crying out loud. All right, let's get back to the phones here, and we're doing this by whole time. We're not going to. We don't screen calls. Okay, we do not screen calls. So be on your best behavior. We're going to go to 757 area code 757. Did I press you already?
No, that's my first time.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for keeping me honest.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
Actually, I got three things that I wanted to talk about. First was God had put it on my spirit that I was talking to my wife yesterday, and he gave me the revelation that, everything that Moses went through, Adam went through, all of the prophets, Daniel, everybody, all of the stuff that they went through was all, that whole book was written for this time. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that, all of the stuff that they went through, all the pain, all the good things, all the bad things, the miracles, the things that Jesus did, all of that was just for this particular time. You know what I mean? Because Jesus, when he died, we were able to get the power and the Holy Spirit and things of that such that he talks about us being able to do greater things than he did when he walked the earth, which is what we're going to need in battle with these Nephilim and aliens and all this other nonsense that's going on. But it's just so amazing to look at it. And when you look at that book, with all those pages of all that information, it was all for this particular time that we're going through right now. I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, okay, so tie this together. Well, go ahead.
Okay, well, I agree. No, I agree.
Okay, caller, tie this together. What are you seeing here?
Well, what I was pretty much saying is, God loved us. He gave us
the bigger picture.
He gave us a, huh?
The bigger picture. What are we looking at here?
Well, the way I look at it is it's like breadcrumbs. He left us breadcrumbs all for this end time and this end game. But it was the struggles between the different prophets and men of God that we're able to read about now to be able to execute better as being righteous and, things of that sort because of what's happening at the end, which, is revelations and things of that sort. But we have to know the whole word of God to be able to become the overcomer that talks about in Revelation. So it's like this whole book was written for us in this time, even though, it was written throughout time, but it was written for us at this time. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting. And okay. Would it follow? Now, let me ask you this, caller. Would it follow that as we progress through time, more knowledge would be revealed as we progress through time? In other words, more things will fall. Okay. Just to be sure that we're consistent here, because I think you're right.
Yeah.
All right.
And
where do you? Go ahead.
I would say other comment that I was going to say was when Joe was talking about, would you lay your life down, if you were that person in that situation and everything. And I came up with two different things. Well, in Matthew, Jesus is, quoted telling us to flee before this particular moment happens. I came on the show and talked about this before, but I believe that he'll give us an unction or something to let us know that we need to relocate before that particular thing happens. We'll be out of harm's way. Because just like the Hebrews, when the Egyptian plague happened, they were in I think the country of Goshen or something like that, and they were protected while everything else happened to Egypt. And Egypt was necessarily like Babylon, So I believe that we can flee before this happens. Now, my other thing is, when we look throughout the Bible, we don't see anybody, no Christians, just going there and laying their head down and this, that, and the other. Almost all of them were opposition towards the government. But when the government came to get them, they left peacefully. When you think of Meshach and Abednego, I can't remember the other one's name, but they wouldn't bow down to the statue, the mark of the beast. They wouldn't take the ship, if we wanted to put it in modern terms. And because they didn't do that, they got thrown in the fire. But because they got thrown in the fire, the man that threw them in the fire was able to witness God's work, so they were actually put there for a purpose to let them be able to see God through them. You get what I'm saying? So I think it really depends on the situation.
Interesting way of looking at it. And Shadrach is upset with you, by the way, for getting his name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right.
No, this goes along with one of the other callers said about how the Holy Spirit will lead you in your decision at that time. And I do think that is the most important element of this is that we're hearing from the Lord, that we have that relationship with him, that we do hear from the Lord so he can lead us. And also what you said about we are called to overcome. And I guess not laying down, but knowing first that we should survive at all costs. As long as we're following his will, we need to overcome, we need to survive, we need to be there to help others.
Exactly.
I guess to make it plain and simple, what I was saying is, if it is you're cornered. You got nowhere else to go. You could shoot it out with these people, and you won't make it out. Or
how about this, Joe and caller? How about this? Read your own mail. In other words, read your own instructions. If do what you're told by God. Listen to what you're being told to do by God. If you're told to get out of the way, get out of the way. If you're told to fight, fight. Read your own mail. Don't read other people's mail, because the instructions given to you are not going to be the same as the instructions given to me, given to Joe, given to whoever, right? I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I believe that's a fair statement. It's just some people might forget the humble part of the whole relationship with God. We become more humble so we can hear his voice. But if we're going off of personal or fleshly emotions, then we're not going to actually be able to hear God. Like the other guy that was talking about fasting and how if you starve the flesh, the spirit can eat. In the same aspect of these emotions that we have, if they're not in check, then the first thing we're going to be thinking, of course, is to shoot to kill. But did we first say, Lord, is this what you want me to do? Or did we just go straight off of reaction of emotion and just pull the trigger?
That is exactly what we're talking about here. And I think you summed it up nicely. God bless you.
Okay, and one more thing,
so
and then I'm done.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. June, today is, a lot of people have been talking about this on Facebook, 666, because June is the 6th month, and it's the 6th day, and then 2 + 1 + 3 is 6. I don't know if the Illuminati is going to do anything about that or whatever, but it's ironic.
Well, in a couple of days, in a week, on the 15th, June 15th, it'll also be 6/6/6/2,
Yeah. I just thought it was ironic. I wasn't putting nothing behind it or nothing.
Yeah, well, no, it's interesting because you don't know what you're going to find in these nuggets of information. To pass them up would be, in my opinion, just to be remiss in looking at all angles of these things. God bless you, my friend. Thank you very much for your call. We really appreciate it.
God bless you.
All right. Hey, you know what, Joe? Speaking about, we talked about the Freedom Tower earlier, okay? And I didn't know this, and I was able to verify a couple of different things. Now, some of these things, people can say this. People can say, for example, if you look hard enough for something, if you look for a conspiracy, you can find conspiracies under every rock, under every tree, and to an extent, they're true. I mean that's a true statement. But think about this, all right? The scheduling for the tower, the Freedom Tower, was originally scheduled to be finished on December 21st, 2012. Okay, to me that's now that's the main structure and not the top. Now things happen and such, but the original date for scheduling was December 21st, 12. The colloquial name is a Freedom Tower for the One World Trade Center building. Joe, how many architects do you think were used in its design? Give me a number. Joe?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint.
33. Go ahead.
33. Yeah, there's a hint. But it gets even weirder. It gets even weirder because the building of everything regarding this structure, the timeline, it just reeks of the Illuminati, Masonic type activities. If you look at the coordinates, for example, the latitude being 40.713 degrees and the longitude being minus 74.013 degrees. The decimal longitudes west of the prime meridian are negative, of course, so that's hence the negative. And those east of it are positive. Adding the latitude and longitude values, when you add the two numbers, you get 33.3. Now, you'll have to do this on your calculator by yourself, okay? I mean, just do it on your calculator. And you can also go to, for example, Google Earth, look at the coordinates yourself, and then do the math, and you come up with 33.300 degrees. Is it a coincidence? Perhaps. And the Freedom Tower, tallest building in the United States, 1776 feet, including its mast. July 4th, 1776, of course, is the date of the election. Yeah, I'm okay. The Declaration of Independence was signed May 1st, 1776, in Upper Bavaria. Is, of course, when the Illuminati was founded by, if you think about that, coincidence? Perhaps, perhaps not. The upper part of the building's a form. If you are a mathematician, it's a square anti-prism. Have you ever heard of a square anti-prism? I haven't either until you start digging around in mathematics. It's known as the anti-cube. It's interesting because the full form of the building is an anti-cube sitting on a cube. And here's the reason of significance. As above, so below, as if reflected in a symbolic mirror. For example, and painters know this. You know how you paint a landscape and then you take and cut it and kind of like use your brush with cut it in half and then drag it down to make it look like it's sitting to make it look like it's being reflected from the water. As above, so below. It's an anti-cube sitting in a cube. As above, so below, as if reflected in a symbolic mirror. If prisms split light into a diversity of colors, then the anti-prism symbolically sucks up all colors of light back to the light bearer. Satan, the light bearer. Or
where are you getting this from?
My notes.
Okay.
I study.
You do study, and I want to bring this up because I didn't get a chance to say this earlier. We were listening to Gary Bell.
Yeah, and
is that his name? Okay.
Now, hold on. Let me just say this, because I always have to do this. If you want a really good listening experience, and drop him a line. He only corresponds by email. It's called A View from Space. It's on every Saturday, AM 640 Toronto. You can get them live streaming on the internet. The times vary. It's a 3.5-hour program. You can write him at space at 640 AM Toronto, or the Spaceman. I don't recall what his email address is, but certainly you can listen to him. Find Gary Bell, the Spaceman, A View from Space, on the radio. Listen to him every Saturday night. What a fantastic education you'll get. But, Joe, what were you going to say?
Okay, two things. One, although I did find his show somewhat interesting and informative, and I don't know if this is where that phrase comes that we don't need to worry about what we think. It's not about what we think, it's about what they think.
Absolutely.
Meaning, okay. Now, I disagree with that, because when I was listening to his show, we listened to and he was breaking down symbology and numerology of different things and circumstances and events, but I didn't hear any scripture or solution to the numerology. He was spending so much time dissecting the evil, and I got to disagree, and that made me think. And when you said, it doesn't matter what we think, it matters what they think. Well, no, it does not matter what they think. That would be like us having to go get a Satan's Bible to find out what they're going to do. We don't need to do that, because we have the Lord and His Word, because we know what's going to happen.
Okay. Now we're going to get into it. Not to throw down, folks, because I'm going to tell you something.
And that's what I was thinking earlier, and I didn't get a chance to say that, but I figure why not on air?
Well, of course. Why not? And we can do this on air. Look, I believe truly, and folks, you can disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. But here's the situation. If you're dealing with a satanic enemy, if you're dealing with an enemy, period, or look, if you're dealing, it doesn't matter who you're dealing with or what the circumstances are. Isn't it true? It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what they think. I mean, in other words, it doesn't matter if they believe. For example, if you're talking to somebody who believes that all rabbits are green, okay, and they won't be convinced otherwise, and their whole life revolves around the fact that all rabbits are green. That's a stupid analogy, but you get the idea. Or they believe that they are actually living on planet Pluto and they're living on Earth. That's what they believe, and they base their actions on that belief. That's what he was saying. It doesn't matter what we believe. If they believe that and base their actions on that, perhaps maybe that phrase, basing their actions, would make it clearer. But it's that what they you know what I'm saying? Have I convinced you yet, Joe? Or are we going to have a throwdown?
No, you haven't convinced me, but that's okay. But no, I just thought this was something that we should address, because we can look through the dark in these evil people's plans all day. But what purpose does that serve for the kingdom of heaven and our purpose here? Except, I mean, we're going to know the enemy so well we don't know ourselves?
Oh, and well, I don't think he was going for that. No. No. I don't think he was either, but I guess I would say somebody who would put that show above, we'll say, and I'm not trying to start a fight here, we'll say Pastor Begley. Pastor Begley is, he covers a lot of scripture. Oh, but they're two different. So
what I'm saying is and I haven't listened to him long enough. I only listened to 4 shows maybe in my life, and two of them were today. But it just seems that he's very focused on dissecting in great detail the plans of evil people, instead of focusing also on a solution and on what we need to be. I mean, if people broke down the Bible that much, how much help would that be to people, more so than breaking down evil? Because when you have your whole audience focusing on, and it is healthy to go through what they do and to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, because it can give us a better understanding sometimes of why the Lord does things the way he does. But to the point where it's all you hear, and like I said, I haven't heard a lot of his shows.
I think, no, look, real quick here, because I know that we got other calls to get to, and thank you for being patient, but I think what he was saying is this. If we understand that the enemy is using the King James version of the Bible in a perverse way to deceive the very elect and deceive the Christians and deceive the people of the earth, as above, so below, and also understanding their belief system, the Luciferian belief system, I believe that we have a physical chance here on earth to understand what's going on and then to create a strategy to prevent more people from being statistics to the Luciferian agenda, whether it be practically or spiritually. That's what I'm saying, and that, I believe, is what he's saying. I'm not going to put words in his mouth or speak for him, but I think that his job is to methodically dissect, as you put it, the Luciferian agenda, whereas Pastor Paul Begley, he does a fantastic job, and by the way, we'll be on his show on Tuesday, I think. He does a fantastic job in dissecting the Scripture. So are they mutually exclusive? Do you have to, is it one or the other? No, it can be both. And I think that we have to be very intent in study all the time on both, with emphasis, however, on the Scripture aspect. So you win there. Yo.
Not trying to win, just wanted some clarification.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, it's.
If he does shows specifically dedicated to the other side, and
I love the guy. I love Gary Bell because he's very precise. He's very well studied. He's very, very well read, and he's AM 640 out of Toronto, known as the Spaceman, and he gets into, for example, he was when I looked at and when I went through all of the aspects of the demonic, Luciferian, the occult symbology of the Olympics, it was him who I relied upon to get the information from. And I just want to let you know that. Should we go back to the phones, Joe? Should we do that? What do you want to do?
Sure. We got about 20 minutes left. Definitely.
I lost my place here. Let's go to 93. Did I go with 937? Who did it? I'm sorry. You know what? 856 has been on the 856, you're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann. You've been on the longest. I'm sorry.
Hello, Mr. Doug
856
and Joe. Hello.
Well, hello, Ms. Sheila. Hello.
That's the one.
Hey, can you see what I'm looking at? Can you see the Washington Monument, the tip there?
I was going to ask you can you really, really smell the spirit of the Antichrist? You're right there in the middle of it.
I know, but I'll tell you, I think I've seen a couple of shapeshifters and reptilians walking down the street. I put on my 3D glasses that are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report 3D glasses that you can see. What is that movie? Did They Live? And, yeah, you can tell. No, but we're in the lion's den, actually.
Well, just stay undercover and quit locking yourself out of your room.
Well, yeah, and again, you know, you'd think that with all the cables and all the stuff that we've got to lug into here, you'd think that it would be virtually impossible to snaking around the corner, and then of course, it's just one of those things. Well, what's on your mind tonight, Sheila?
There's something your listeners they need to know something that with Boy Scouts. Today I went over. Yeah, I went over on Now the End Begins, and it's a Christian news site. And every once in a while they'll put a video up, and they had one up there tonight. And normally I don't look at them, but for some reason I watched this particular one, and I can't remember the guy's name. He said he's evidently getting ready to be a new governor, and he was saying that the Jubilee, the Boy Scout Jubilee, is like once a year, and they have their Jubilee on a military base. I think it's in Virginia, and it was moved to the Bechtel estate, Bechtel. And Bechtel, you know, it's a government contracting agency, but he was saying that this family is pure evil. and he showed an overhead view of the base where these kids have been going there for the last 30 years from what he said. And the base has a lot of security. They got medical help there if the kids got hurt or whatever. It's always been safe for them. But somebody had made the decision to move these kids to the Bechtel estate, the family. And he just said straight out that this family were pure evil. And he showed a Google view overhead of the estate and where these kids are all going to be, and it's going to be in a wooded area. And Homeland Security and FEMA is going to be there, and the governor had given over to the security over to FEMA and Homeland Security, and they said they were going to do training on outbreaks of diseases and whatnot, and he just said this smells like a false flag, and he said he couldn't understand why they would take these kids and put them out in the woods like that, because if something happened, it would be hard to get to them. And he said the whole thing smells here, and we don't want nothing happening to these kids. And he just said straight into the camera that, we know what's going on. We know about these false flags. He brought up Boston, and he said nothing better happened to any of these kids. But anybody out there that's listening that's got kids that's wanting to be a part of this Jubilee, go to Now the End Begins, Boy Scout Jamboree, and they'll take you right to that video so you can see it. If it was me, my kid wouldn't be going at this point, but he said, I want to know who made the decision to move these kids to that estate with these evil people, is what he said. Now, did you hear about that, Doug?
Parts of it, not the entirety, not the entire account that you just gave.
Yeah,
so
well,
what's your take on this?
Well, he said was running to chill up my spine because we're talking about kids here, and he said nothing better happened to any of these kids, and he's looking at it as a false flag, and from what we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was to happen. I mean, it would be downright. Look, when you start going after the kids, it just sent a chill up my spine.
Look what happened, Sheila, to the Boy Scouts of America. Look at the at what the law stated now that they've got to do. They've got to allow the homosexuals into their ranks. They've got to allow the transgendered into their ranks. They've attacked from within and legally a moral aspect of America that we can't get back. Nope. Now you're telling me, and others are saying too, that they could be possibly the victims of a false flag type of an attack in this area. As a matter of fact, in Virginia, we'll say, and I've heard other theories as well, but nonetheless, they could be victims of a false flag attack. There's got to be a blood sacrifice of children, or there should be, that's related to the Illuminati type of celebration. And one has to look toward London, the birth of a child coming up, to understand what I meant by that. But that said, do you honestly feel, Sheila, that there could very well be a false flag take place? Seriously?
At this point, with the crap that we're seeing going on, yeah, I can see it happening. But I struggle with it.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. The kids being a target here, and they want to do this training with these kids there, and it's the same crap that took place in Boston.
Well,
if I was a parent that's got a kid that's getting into that, I would not let them go at this point, because we know we're dealing with evil here.
I can't disagree with you. I can't, as much as
when it comes to the kids, you can't take that chance. You cannot take the chance. It's not worth it at this point. They've let this evil get in there, and they can also bring up the Bechtel family and see how evil these people are.
Well,
it's just unbelievable to me. It's just sickening.
We're going to, look, we're going to be following this up. Joe, any thoughts on this at all? Because I know we're going to be following up on this a little bit closer with some sources that we've got.
If anything would drive the people out in the streets is to deliberately target the kids.
Well, I think it is just another stepping stone in their march to ruin society even more so than it already has been. I don't even think they need to do anything more to take society down. Society is taking itself down by their inaction. But the Boy Scouts, obviously, they're going to go after anything that is not supportive of the homosexual or atheist agenda. And we see a story today out of Florida, a Florida county that took off the Ten Commandments off their courthouse steps.
Yes, that was sickening.
Atheist monument. The county has reached a deal to allow American atheists to install a 1,500-pound granite bench near the courthouse. The bench will feature quotes from Thomas Jefferson. It will also include a list of punishments for violating the Ten Commandments, including stoning.
What?
Yes. The New World Order is here. I think the end game is going to be here as far as this whole thing is the collapse of the economy. When the collapse of the economy happens, that's when they're going to slide in the New World financial system into this country. I think it's already here, but that's when it'll be put into place. I do believe that. And the thing you were saying earlier about the appliances, I don't know if you can answer this question, not Doug and Joe, but they're talking about, they're monitoring everybody through TV and appliances. Are you talking about new appliances, or does this go way back?
This is anything, I think. What I was told is anything that was old is now new again. And
well, let me clarify that if I can. I'm going to jump in here. I think it's more the new that has the dual capabilities of surveillance or monitoring as well as reception and transmission. But it can be retrofitted as well. But it's more than new appliances.
Because the appliances we've got in this house is 6 years old. We've got flat screens in here. Mine's 6 years old. I didn't know whether or not that was applying to all new appliances that's out there. Right now I know the Energy Star appliances. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I know they got those chips in them so they can monitor everybody, but it's here.
And see, but Sheila, people listening to the show, they've got to say, man, you guys are so flippin' crazy. This is crazy talk. But they don't understand. They've already filed patents and have admitted the fact that they can monitor this, and so. But I think a 6-year-old television, for example, I think you're okay with that. I've heard a 6-year-old appliance. I think you'd be okay. You've got those televisions that are so heavy, and folks, you understand the ones with the backs on them that they're 2 feet out. I think you're fine with that, but some of the newer models, I'd be very, very very aware of, very conscious of. But,
well, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to kowtow to these people. The only way they're going to get at me is when I go to my doctor and whatnot. And even then, I'm not going to comply with nothing. Be in this world, but not of it. I'm not going to comply.
Well,
If they want to take everything from me, help yourself. Because I will not.
I love your spunk. I really do. I want to say God bless you. Thank you very much for the call. We got to move on. Thanks, Sheila. All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. We're taking you by the time in the hold queue here, and I apologize if I screw up here and catch you twice or do something. You know, it's just part of my charm, right? We're going to area code 520. Were you on already? 520. You're on with that, Doug and Joe Hagmann. All right, 520 going once. All right, we're going to go to 5. I'm sorry. You know what? This is my mistake. I got to go back here. We're going to go to area code 305. Area code 305. You're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Hi.
Hi. I was beginning to think that I was pressing the wrong buttons here.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to talk about the Bilderberg.
Yes.
And I was, going over the list of attendees, and I saw one name that kind of caught my attention, and I realized that person was with a company called, was the CEO, his name's Alex Karp, and he's the CEO of Palantir Technologies. So I said, what's that? So I looked it up, and Palantir Technologies was funded, founded with this person, Alex Karp, along with this person, Peter Thiel, and some other people. And it was funded in part with CIA money. And the technology, they have a software called Gotham software that's being used by the government, and it's going to be used for Medicare and Medicaid, and it's used for government, whatever they do. I think it ties in with the NSA because this Peter Thiel, this is how you were saying the other day that you had a different feeling about this Bilderberg meeting?
Yes.
This Peter Thiel person is, he's on the board of Bilderberg, and he's part of a team of people that chooses who goes to Bilderberg, and he's also founder of PayPal, and he's just recently become a big investor in
he's on the steering committee, actually. Yes, he's on the steering committee.
In Bitcoin, which is like a digital money.
Yep.
And somehow this is all related with, I feel it's all related with this spying technology that's going on, listening into everything, all this software. And this is like a big cobweb where everything is related. You know what I mean? It's one person's related to another. He's also good friends with Zuckerberg over at Facebook. And you know what, caller, you make a good point in the sense that everyone is talking about the spider web, but no one is talking about killing the spider. You see, and you're right. Peter Thiel is on the steering committee of the Bilderberger Club, and I do have a different feeling about this meeting than the others. I do feel you are correct in terms of perhaps they are making some life-changing decisions for all of us. I believe that. And also, when you look up Palantir, that's the name of that company that has that Gotham software. Palantir is the scrying stone from Lord of the Rings. Okay, It has the eye of Sauron looks back at you, okay? When Sauron forged his ring, I mean, this sounds bizarre, but it's all related. And it relates to the Olympics, too, the rings of the Olympics. When Sauron, when he forged the ring, he said, one ring to, and this was black speech, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and into the darkness bind them. And the line was inscribed by Sauron when he forged the ring. Now, also think about that ring that Mr. Obama's wearing and what's forged in writing on that. Okay? I'm just saying, and that tower in New York that they built, that one world tower, okay? It also has the ability to be a tower that's like a Gwen tower that can take a HARP signal. When HARP sends out a signal, it sends out a HARP ring. Okay, that's what they call it, a ring. Okay, I know it sounds nuts, but I'm telling you, I can feel it in my spirit that this is related. You know what, caller?
I believe you in that, and I know Joe and I were talking about this on a trip here. There is a different feeling. Everything is related. You're correct. The crimes that are being identified, whether it be the NSA, the IRS, the you name it. Okay, with the Bilderberger meeting, with the completion of the One Freedom this Tower thing. Other things taking place. We have entered a different, with World War III on our doorstep.
That's
with the collapse of the dollar, everything is related.
It's all related.
Are correct. It is. Okay. You are correct. You know what? You're your last caller of the night. God bless you. Thank you so much for your call. Folks, we had a great night tonight. I want to say that we have to finish the program at this point in time. The workers here are just gathering up the cables, so we're going to be unplugged here momentarily. I want to say thank you. It's great to be broadcasting from Washington, D.C. Tomorrow, I believe we'll be broadcasting from North Carolina.
North Carolina, that's correct.
All right, so we're still on the road, and I just want to wish everyone a great day. Tune in tomorrow because we are going to have some interesting information based on our activities tomorrow during the day.
Yeah, we did not have time to really put together any type of show prep, and we had a bunch of stories, but we didn't really go over them. We were too busy dodging huge buckets of pouring rain versus the slight drizzle. No, it was pretty bad. It was a rough drive here. It took us a couple hours longer than it should have because of the rain, but that's okay.
Absolutely.
We only got a few hours to go tomorrow, and we got some stuff planned for tomorrow. It should be exciting and make for a great show. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for in the chat room, for being there every night and interacting and creating a nice fellowship there. All the callers, all the people who spread the word about our show, all the people who pray for us, all the people who help other people.